Hey everyone, this is Light, and welcome to my mid-season tier list. So there are quite a few changes since the last time with new units and the balance patch, and if this is your first time watching these videos, I will only be going over rankings that have changed since the last tier list video. If you want to hear a detailed explanation for every unit, feel free to check out my early season tier list. So let's go over the tiers real quick. So S plus are the highest priority units you want to first pick every game. S tier are units that you pick alongside the S plus tier and they have very few weaknesses. A tier are situational units that you pick later on in the draft, and A minus tier are pretty much the same but less common, to give you an idea of what units to prioritize. If you see a unit missing, they're either not good enough to recommend building, or they're in cleave tier, and I don't rank cleave units. Because if the playstyle is good, the units are good, basically. So yeah, let's get started with the new units. So first one, definitely the most polarizing unit as of late, peira. So easy S tier. I am hesitant to put her in S plus tier because I feel like as a unit she's much more interactive than like MO Luna and MO Poly, who just like completely stop you from playing the game. Like DDR like also stops you from playing the game, Flan just runs you down. But I feel like Peira like in comparison to like these units is much more fair. Because like she doesn't stop your entire team from like moving. She doesn't disable all your passives. Like she'll push your team, and the thing that makes her so popular right now, and I consider her the biggest, like I don't want to describe her like this, but I feel like she is the biggest noob stomper, like the biggest like ladder warrior unit ever. Because this unit, if you have immunity on all your units, she'll seem bad. But if you pick a unit that doesn't have immunity into someone trying to murder you with ML Peira, then they get a defense break on you for free, and then you just die. So she is quite game warping in that if you fight an ML Peira and you don't pick units with all immunity, or units who don't care about getting defense broken, you're gonna be in a pickle. I think she is like the singular reason like people don't want to pick like laia and stuff anymore. People put immunity on their DDR and everything. So yeah, she is she's quite the game changer just for existing. For me personally, I spent like a year farming golem, and my HP sets are useless now because I don't want to use them anymore. Because like I had to I had to fight this peira unit almost every game. But yeah, she's very strong in that she's pretty game warping. She's she's mostly good when her study is pre-ban and you're trying to like just murder the other person. She's not as good for standard players. In my last 100 games, I've only picked Peira like 6 times. She's okay in like turn 2 versus turn 2. She's okay against our study. I know a lot of people are going crazy over like the Peira plus choux combo, but honestly, it's a little overrated. Her biggest strength is definitely with cleave units like BBK and whatnot. Like in terms of like how you use her in the meta, her best use is definitely as a side grade to MO Luna and MO Poly in the BBK flowchart draft, where you know you pick BBK on 3 and then you pick like 4 openers with her. Like she's definitely a side grade there with like along with like these 2 units. So yeah, I think that's her best use. But if you want to use her in slow play, ideally I feel like this unit is really good in the 3rd ban protect if she makes it that far in the draft. Because then like you can be pretty flexible with your last 2 picks, and then you're like guaranteed a cleanser, which is really good. So like you don't like what people are doing right now, they're like picking both of these early, but like Emoshu and Peira, they're both they have decent counterplay. But yeah, overall very strong unit. Definitely a must-have if you're a more aggressive player. but if you're like a tank player like me, I kind of regret pulling her because I barely use her. But yeah, pretty decent unit. And we have Emo Shoe. Wait, Emo Shoe got an EE that makes her stealth every turn, and it's pretty crazy. Before, Emo Shoe would lose the matchup against Emo Ilinav and Laia because they would just keep hitting her, but now she has insane uptime on her stealth. So I think she is a much more pickable unit, and the stealth also makes her very tanky because stealth reduces AoE damage by 50%. So she's giving herself a 50% mitigation every time she takes a turn. So I feel like she's really good in Harseti gameplay too, even though historically Emo Shu is weak against Harseti because Harseti stops her from cycling. But now with her like constant stealth, she can survive and she can beat up the Harseti. And it's really crazy. So yeah, because of that, I'm gonna move her up from A tier to S tier because she definitely they removed a bunch of her weaknesses. Like she's no longer weak to Laia Ilinav, she's no longer weak to Harseti. Well, she still kinda is, but not as much. So yeah, Emoshu way stronger now. That EE was definitely way out of line. And actually let's go back to the new unit. So next new unit besides Peira is Tori. I had a really hard time ranking this unit because I value consistency. And the fact that Tori can lose a majority of her damage on turn 1 because she doesn't proc Cascade is disgusting to me. I think I feel like I lost 2 or 3 times in a row because my Cascade didn't proc on the first turn, and then like I lost all my hair. But I don't think a DPS should be that inconsistent. But the fact that she's a DPS with an unstrippable barrier and immunity on turn 1 means that she's very resistant to debuffers. So I feel like that kind of makes up for it and gives her decent value. If you look past her like 20% chance to be really bad, like she's decent. The damage is really good. It's definitely really good. She has decent survivability. She's resistant to debuffs on the first turn. If you look past her like nasty RNG thing, she's decent, but definitely can't be any higher than A. And then let's go over the balance patch units, starting with Crow. Solid A. If you're not picking out Beto, he has a lot of mitigation because, you know, he has 25% Aureus and you can put Adamant Shield on him for almost as much mitigation as Albedo. Only thing is he doesn't give his team 10% defense from the Aureus, which is fine. But the biggest thing is that Blue Crow is actually really decent into Fire Flan. Because like his horse, if she does too much damage to your team, like his horse is gonna kill her. So she's a decent answer against Fire Flan. So that's pretty good. But like he has synergy with like Shu too, because you know she stealths and then they'll have to hit Crow eventually. So yeah, Blue Crow is kind of decent. Have not played him too much myself, although yeah, I think he's more for just fighting Flan though. I would not recommend picking this into Green Senya or anything, because his Aureus, like it blows him up if he takes too much AoE damage, which is a shame, but he is decent into Fire Flan. But that's about it. Like his new soul burn is negligible. It's all about like killing something with his normal S3 pretty much. So yeah. Yeah, A tier. He's decent. Being a decent answer to Flynn is pretty big. And then we have Ross. I actually think Ross is Ross is a decent Aureus Knight against Little Senya and Albedo. Like, he's fire. The dual attacks will make your DPS pretty strong. Like, I pick him with Candy and Euphine a decent amount. But he's good. He's good. The force dual attack gives you a lot of turn 1 power. Cause like imagine you first pick DDR, and then they'll go the usual like Senya Albedo stuff with Schneel, yada yada, and then you pick Ross to run down the Schneel pretty much, and it's okay. It's okay with Tori too. It's definitely more viable with this buff because the shield is much easier to proc. Cause like the shield went from taking an X amount of damage to whenever their HP drops below half, right? So he's more consistent in protecting his backline now, which is nice. But yeah, decent unit for sure. And then we have Diane in A tier. She's surprisingly pretty good. Like, she makes Emil Haste do no damage. She makes anything with pen do no damage. Like, her pen resist is more than Illinev. Like, Illinev's pen resist is only 30%, but Diane's is 50%. So like units like Amiki, Janua, Emil Haste, all that, they're gonna do 0 damage to her. Which is pretty good. Which is honestly pretty good. Like, there will be some people who like pre-ban Illinev and try to slam like all like Emil Haste shenanigans. Well, they can't really do that anymore because the end's a thing. So yeah, she definitely has a place as like an Illinev replacement if you're being threatened by like Janua and stuff. So that's, yeah, pretty nice. Easy A tier. And then Rylid also got buffed, and on paper his buffs do a lot for him. Like, he has slightly higher S3 damage, and every time his S3 activates, he CR boosts by 50%. That's crazy. On paper, he's crazy, but I feel like he still needs to be babysat by a lot of supports. Specifically peira to give him more evasion. So then usually my routed experience is that he gets hit once or twice and then he drops dead. But other times he can like completely pop off and like murder the other person before they can do anything. Like, it's very polarizing, but it's much easier for him to pop off if he has peira. So yeah, he's decent. He's much better than before, but still plagued by 70% evasion, which is okay because you can mitigate with peira, but definitely a menace. And let's see. So yeah, those are the buffed units that I'll be ranking, and let's talk about units that have moved in the tier list. Namely ML So ML basically went from my garbage tier to A tier because the latter is infested with Ellie Ghosts and Veronica BBK cleavers. So there's a new ML tech where you build ML with 100% crit and just enough damage to one-tap Ellie Ghost and Veronica with your basic counter. And the basic counter usually doesn't crit unless you build crit, but you can build crit to make it one-shot them, which is very nice. It's very strong tech against cleavers. And yeah, I believe in it. Like, I win most of my games with ML He's actually really good, really good against Ellie Ghost Veronica. Only issue is you can only pick him as a 4/5, like as a last pick. But that doesn't make him bad. No, doesn't make him bad at all. And he's very good in the specific cleaver scenario. So yeah, decent unit, easy A. And so I moved Ilinav down from S plus tier. Which may be crazy to some people, but this unit is definitely not as oppressive as she was before. This unit does not help you against modern cleave and aggro players. Like she just kind of sits there and dies unless she 15% everything. And in turn 2 versus turn 2, she's definitely not as strong anymore. It definitely especially when Fireflan is available. Like Fireflan has way higher priority than Ilinav. Um, the best part about Ilinav was that if you pick Ilinav, then you could pick Emerald Haste and stuff, right? And the other person couldn't. But now with like the existence of DN, like picking Emerald Haste is not even that beneficial in turn 2 because like they can always pick DN to block your haste, and like picking all these units that are HP scaling, you're actually just food for choux. Like Ilinav versus Emo choux is definitely a miserable matchup now. Like Ilinav used to beat her consistently, but now it's quite difficult and it's very skill based. So yeah, not being good against aggro and cleave really hurts her. The fact that I used to pick this unit used to be pick or die, but now I'm hesitant to pick her because I feel like she won't be useful enough. I think that says a lot, but I still think she can be decently strong. She can beat choux, but it again is very draft dependent, and she's just no good when her city is pre-banned. So yeah, she's definitely down a tier, unfortunately. And then we're also going. So Laia was also in S tier, but we're gonna knock her down because Laia is just not good in the turn 2 meta anymore. She can't do anything against Ilinav. She can't do much against Peira. She can't do much against choux. She can never kill Tori. Like she's just there to cleanse, and that's not good enough. And like yeah, she can't do damage against DN either. Like it's just the meta, the turn 2 meta has just changed for the worse, and she's not that good anymore besides as a cleanser, unfortunately. And she's also very useless against aggro players and cleavers, cause like she just sits there and watches your team die. She doesn't self CR push or anything. She just sits there, hopes your team doesn't die, and then she'll cleanse, right? So yeah, she's a good cleanser, but that's about it. Definitely not S tier material anymore. Very sad. And on that note, Emil Haste is also down from S tier to A tier because yeah, he's so weak to Emil choux. You know, DN makes him do no damage. He's definitely way lower priority. Cause like, yeah, again, Ilinav and Haste were like a pair, but like the priority on these units are just much lower now. I don't think Emil Haste deserves to be S tier, cause like, there's not much value in like early picking Emil Haste anymore, right? Like, what if you go Haste Ilinav? It doesn't matter, because then they can just protect themselves with DN and stuff. So yeah, Haste, we're gonna knock him down a tier. Like he's useful as like a later pick to prevent yourself from dying, but literally that's it. And then we have Senya. Senya's pretty much in the same boat as Haste. It's very easy to make her useless. When she's just no good against the injury units, she gets ran down by Flan and all that. But she just has too many weaknesses, and she's just a late pick for protecting your team, pretty much. Again, like, DN makes her do no damage, etc. And we also knocked down Janua from S tier because this unit is just a bum. Like Senya and Albedo, Albedo mitigates too much damage. Janua can't do anything. Shu just runs him down. He does 0 damage into Ilinav and Dien. There's really not a place for Janua anymore. Like he's weak to haste, he's weak to Ilinav, weak to all this mitigation, weak to DDR, weak to Shu. Like Janua is only good if you manage to proc him early so he can actually kill something. But like everything's either too tanky or you're getting debuffed to death or something stupid. Or you do no damage because of like Ilinav DN. Yeah, Janua is down from S tier. He's still okay. He's still okay to pick against people who are like forced to proc him. Like Harsetti, kind of. But that's about it. And then we also moved Huayang down from S to A tier. Huayang is just a unit that you pick to counter someone with tons of debuffs. That's literally it. We don't pick Huayang to kill light units, we pick Huayang because we need a damage dealer that can't be debuffed basically. And that's fairly often, but yeah, otherwise no, we don't really pick Huayang at all. Like basically Huayang has replaced the Sage Vivian as like your anti-debuff unit basically. And that's about it. So yeah, easy A tier. And then let's see, we also moved Lua down to A tier because Lua, this unit is very awkward. There's too many good cleansers against her. Like she gets screwed over by Little Senya if Little Senya is the fastest unit on her team, and she also gets screwed over by Peira quite a bit. Like I think she's just really not that great into all the cleansing options, unfortunately. So yeah, we're gonna have to move her down from S to A because there's never that much of a reason to pick her early unless like your draft revolves around her or something like that and so do your pre-bans. So yeah, we're definitely moving her down to A tier. And then I think that's about it for this patch. Yeah, that should be just about it for this patch. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful. Thank you for watching and I'll see you guys next time.